Chest day, the best freaking day. This was a really good chest day. It's probably the last time you're going to see a chest and shoulder day because I might change up the split and really separate it down to chest separately and shoulder separately. When you're trying to work two muscles and really bring them up, really bring up your lagging muscle groups, you want to focus as much attention into each of them as possible. Now, again, if you think about training 2 days a week, that is kind of problematic, but I'm going to try something new. I'm going to try training once per week, and I will give my insight in these videos for sure, so stay tuned for that. But I do think that if I do 5 days and rest and do it again, it's once every 6 days, so it's a little better, but even then, whatever. We're going to get into this chest day. So today, here we're benching flat bench. I have not consistently flat benched in a very long time. The last time I actually did a flat bench session was months ago, but here we are. We got 225 on the bar. I don't even know if I recorded the warm-ups. Probably not. Here's 2 plates. Now, here I'm thinking 2 plates should be easy, and it was easy. I tried not to use my legs too much. I got 9 reps here. I was kind of bouncing it off my chest, and that's okay for the first set. But in the second and third sets, I want to keep it slow. I want to control it, and I don't want to bounce it off my chest. So that's what I do. Not necessarily slow and controlled. More so, I just don't bounce it off my chest. What actually happens is I move up to 245. I add a dime to each side, and we're a little heavier here. I think you get 5 reps here. I'm also bouncing it. But again, it's the first 2 sets, so I'm not too concerned about controlling it. I'm just trying to pump as much weight as possible. And we move on back to 2 plates. 2 plates here is a lot slower because I'm weaker and because I'm not bouncing it off my chest. I can get 5 reps here. Again, it's not important how much weight you're using. It's not important how many reps you're getting. It matters how long the muscle is under stress. That is the most important factor for building muscle for most exercises, if not all. 4 sets total on the bench press went pretty easily. And we move on to the iso chest press. 3 plates on the iso chest press should move a lot easier than it has in the past, except it doesn't because we went pretty heavy on the flat bench. That's okay. Again, it doesn't matter how many reps I get. It matters how much blood I pump into the muscle. Obviously, it does kind of matter how many reps you get. I take that back because you need progressive overload. You need to consider how many reps you're doing over time. If you're increasing reps and if you're increasing weight, form, there's many ways to progress. Regardless here, I'm pretty weak today considering the heavy bench we just did. 3 plates is pretty decent though. I think I do 3 sets here with all 3 plates. So that is a volume PR, so in a way we're still progressing, which is great obviously. And I believe for the second and the third set, I do a ridiculous double drop set and just pump it out to failure. You got a spotter at the back obviously because, you know, you can squeeze out so many extra reps if you have a spotter. You can do like force negatives. There's so many different things you can do with your training when you have a spotter. That's why I highly recommend it. If you train alone, try and get a spotter for certain exercises because it does really help. So we've done 2 pressing movements and now we're moving on to flies. Now for flies, I'm really going to start focusing more on them. And that's because flies are to build the width of your chest. And by width, I mean like side to side width, like left to right. It's supposed to make the chest wider, like longer, if you know what I mean. Thickness comes from like pressing and pretty much every kind of chest exercise. Like I have a pretty thick chest, but when I do like a most muscular, you can see I have narrow clavicles and it's hard to really change that up. And that's why I'm going to try and focus more on flies to hopefully get my chest to look a little longer, to carry more surface area. Like if you look at Ronnie Coleman's chest, the guy stands relaxed and his chest is like 60 inches apart. It looks ridiculous. So obviously that's the goal, but we're never going to get there because no one's Ronnie Coleman. But you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to stretch out the chest. I'm trying to make it look a little longer so it doesn't look super small and the most muscular. It could be a lot of genetic factor that plays into it. Obviously, everything is. I have pretty narrow clavicles for that. Like Phil Heath, when he does the most muscular, it's pretty similar structure. Obviously, I'm like a 1/10 of Phil Heath's size, but you get what I'm saying. Flies here are super good for getting the pump, super good for getting the stretch. You can see here that as I move to the center of the movement, I try and straighten my arms out a little bit more, and I get much more of a stretch in the chest. You could even fully straighten your arms, but you're going to have to lower the weight by a lot. You really get a good squeeze when you do that, though. And obviously, we're doing the classic Sam Sulek superset by doing the flies downwards. Similar motion, just pumps more blood into the muscle. Quick posing session. What I realized is I kind of unlocked like new chest striations, which is crazy. I was genuinely shocked to see this, but it was like a ridiculous chest bump today, or the day I trained chest. I was pretty surprised. Unfortunately, some of the poses didn't catch good lighting, but I can definitely tell that I'm getting bigger. The pumps are getting better. Things are just moving well. I was 199.2 this morning. I know a lot of that weight is water, but I'm still really happy to be moving up on the scale because that is pretty important in some aspects. This side tricep looked mad. Unfortunately, side tricep is not a mandatory in classic physique, but it's alright. So chest is done. Now we're doing shoulders. Again, as I mentioned, this is probably the last chest and shoulder combined workout. Probably going to split them up from now on. But anyways, here's some overhead press. But you don't want to train your front delt, bro. It's overdeveloped from pressing. Well, I'm training my front delt. I want it to grow. I want it to look big. And I'm also going to be training my rear delt to balance that out. I don't just want huge front delts and have my shoulder completely cave into my chest. No one wants that, right? It's bad for posture. It's ugly. It looks stupid. So you train your rear delts and your front delts, especially if you feel they need work. I want to grow my overhead press here so I can grow my front delts as well along with it. Lateral head, obviously just spam lateral raises. Shoulders are a very straightforward day. I mean, you do your overhead press, you do your lateral raises, you add in like upright rows and whatever. You might do rear delts, or you might do rear delts on back day. I do them on back day because I have more time. But I might change that up when I split these two apart. The heaviest I go here is a plate and a dime, but you can't see the dime because it's hidden underneath the plate. And we do pretty well with those movements. I think I get 8 to 10 reps on the heaviest set of overhead press. But now we move on to lateral raises, which is the bread and butter of having juicy delts. I get the 35s, which is the heaviest I've done for 3 to 4 sets. I think it was 4 sets I did with the 35s. That's the most sets I've done with the 35s. So again, we're progressing in volume. I also got like 18 reps on the first set, which is like way more than I usually get with 35-pound dumbbells. My form is kind of the same. I'm just swinging it around because you can't tell me not to do that. It works really well for me. I cut the weight in half for lateral raise drop sets. I feel like that's like the perfect range for me in the drop set. Again, these drop sets are just to pump more blood into the delts, just to get a much more ridiculous contraction. The delts can handle a lot of stress. Like, they rarely get sore. That's because you can barely stretch them in most movements for the lateral head. But that's exactly why I'm just training it like crazy. I did like 7 sets of lateral raises here, I think. Maybe 6, but they were all supersets. The last 2 were supersets with upright rows, just to change things up a little bit. And I dropped the weight to 30 pounds because I was getting weaker. Again, if you're getting weaker, you want to drop the weight. You don't want to continue with the same weight. You're just not going to get the same number of reps. See, another simple chest and shoulder workout. I'm not doing anything special. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just getting freaking huge. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. And I'll see you in the next bulk day, which will be legs. So look forward to that one.